Hi guys, in this video I'm going to take a look at the new Oathmark Human Cavalry from Northstar.
Scruffy Crow.
Okay, so I was pretty excited when these were announced, so I stuck my pre-order in as soon as I could pretty much, and they arrived today. You get 15 multi-part figures. Let's take a look. So we've got bases. Although I'm using rounder bases for pretty much everything in my army, there's not a lot of options for round-ended cavalry bases, so I'm just going to stick with these. So we've got 5 identical sprues of horses. Each makes 3 horses. And 3 identical sprues of riders. Not a lot to say about the horses so far. They look like horses. I don't actually own that many cavalry models, so I've not got anything to compare them against. Okay, so now we've got the humans. And if I'm honest, actually, my first thoughts when looking at these was I was a little bit disappointed. After putting together 60 of the Oathmark humans, I was quite familiar with that sprue. And what I'm actually recognising here is quite a lot of the same parts. So I think a few of these bow arms are the same. The swords certainly look to be. Spears. But what's most sort of annoying is the heads. So this guy I definitely recognise. He's new. This guy I recognise. This guy also looks kind of familiar, but I think he's got a longer beard this time around. And same with these hooded heads. Oh, I think that one's a bit different. So some of them are a bit different. And we've got a few more options. I think this hooded head I recognise. We do have a few good interesting bits. I'm liking the axe. I'm assuming this is for the champion. This head's pretty cool as well. So yeah, and this one comes with some little knives, which the other one didn't. And there was no little belt accessories like that. My plan is to build up 10 of these guys initially. I'm going to do 5 as heavily armoured, or as as much as this kit will allow, and 5 as sort of rangers. Oh, here's another little one. There's some little pouches as well that the other kit didn't have. They're quite nice. So here we have another example of what I was talking about. These are the axes from this kit. So they would both snipped off this sprue. And they are identical, like down to the folds in the clothing. And this one, or well, one or the other, is the one from the human kit as it was. And once again, it's identical. So not only are they using 2 of the same axe on this sprue, they haven't changed it up a little bit, but it's the same one as that you'd already have from the other human kit. I guess a lot of this stuff is a cheap whinge, but part of me thinks if you've gone to the time and effort to make, what does appear to overall be a pretty nice kit, it'd just be nice to put a few more unique items in. Not only for this kit, but also so you could kit bash back with your humans and everything. Okay, as I was putting this guy together, I noticed another little interesting thing. One set of legs has these sort of plated leather sections to match that tunic. But only one set looks like that. And then you have a couple of sets of legs with small studs that match up with these 2. And then you have 2 sets of legs with a plain section around there that match up with the tunicked ones. So there are specific leg body combos. I think you could definitely get away with mixing and matching. Like a studded tunic on a plain body. The least of all would be this one, I think, where you've got quite distinct squares to that bit and that bit. Another thing I should mention while I'm building these guys up is, I said I like this champion helmet. Though that arm is a little bit awkward, but I think it looks pretty cool. He's coming together quite nicely. But on the other 4 guys, I'm also going to use this helmet. So this is from the regular human box. It's a very similar helmet, just without the sort of mohawky bit. Okay, so because you only get one pose of axe hand, there's limits to what you can do with it. So I think that's more or less the two sort of poses you can get away with, more swept back and then a sort of more standard static one. So what I did is I've got plenty of these swords and the axes, but I wanted my whole unit to have axes. So my first instinct was to cut just the hands off, so we could use this pose with this weapon. But then as I looked at the arms, a more central place seemed to be just to cut down the side of that cuff. In theory, all the cuffs are roughly the same size, and it gives you a wider area to re-glue to. And I think once that's painted, you'll not even know that's been sliced and re-grafted there. And then we can pop that on there, and as I said, we've got that. We've got another pose. Once again, the shields are giving me a little bit of issue, because you've basically only got one shield holding pose. At least now I know the shields have a right way up. There is a slightly longer side and a slightly shorter side, but there's still no surefire way of getting them on the arms that I'm happy with, which is only compounded by the fact that horses have necks that are somewhat in the way. But it does add to that kind of heavily armoured look. So I am happy to stick with these nice big square shields, which I think are so sort of iconic on this kit. Okay, I have built my first 5. So we've got this guy, quite like his sort of dynamic pose, with his horse sort of galloping forward. Got the guy with his axe down by his side. Got the champion with his fabulous hat. The standard is also on the gallop forward, his head stuck out looking for where he's going. And his axe, I wasn't entirely sure about how to do the axe. I think I'll just green stuff in a little loop around it from his belt. So if he needs to put his standard down or do something with it, you can scoop his axe out. I mean, this looks like a pretty hefty weapon as it is. And then we've got my just another guy there with the first one I did in a pretty standard pose. They were pretty straightforward to put together. Nothing out of the ordinary for a kit with this many parts. And they seem to have gone together quite well. I don't think there's really going to be much in the way of gap filling or anything I'm going to have to do. And even though I picked fairly limited parts out of what was already fairly limited, I feel like I've got quite good variation in there. The kit allows for that, which is quite good. So I'm quite happy with the way they've come out. I'm going to take a little break now, and then I'll come back and I'll do the archers. I'll see how different we can make them look. Okay, I think I've done with these guys. I'll take you through my second unit here. We've got a champion. I did the same trick with the braces there. Snipped it there, and we used the mace arm. I've not used the mace arm anywhere else. I think that kind of works for a ranger. We've added pouches to all of these ones, as well as the quivers. And I've only used the hooded heads from the Cavalry sprue. So no elf heads on these guys, because there was enough different heads to do a unit of 5 at least. Second command model, I've used a similar sort of holding the bow arm. Once again, we've got the pouch and the quiver. I've used the larger banner topper. A lot of these still need a bit of a clean up. I need to go and grab the last few mould lines and everything, so don't worry about that. But they've gone together quite nicely. We've got these two that ended up looking kind of similar, obviously in different horses, but both pulling their bows back to shoot. But we've got some different heads, slightly different poses. Because their bodies are separate from their legs, you can twist them around quite far, so they're kind of shooting almost forward. But what I worked out you couldn't do was have them shooting on the other side of the horse's head, not without it making it look like you've broken their spine. I'm not actually sure how proper horse archers do that, sort of shoot from the other side. Might be something I have to look into, but I think that looks okay. And then we've got a guy who has loosed an arrow with the proper potato face. And once again, yeah, pouch and quiver and the bow arm out. I think it looks quite nice. I've got some, don't mind my hands, I've been out in the garden all day. But I've got some short axes and a knife from the Barbarian sprue I think I'm also going to add. as well as a few of these daggers from the elf sprue. I'm going to put these on their opposite sides to their pouches, just so they've all got a hand weapon as well, which I think will look quite cool. Make them kind of look a bit more loaded up, whereas I've kept the knights that a little bit less cluttered. Okay, so my overall view of this kit then. I said I was initially a bit disappointed that they hadn't put more unique parts on that we hadn't already seen in the human kit. But however, they have built up very nicely. It is quite easy to get some quite interesting sort of fluid poses out of these guys. I think the same as the human kit, you can get quite distinctly different units out of there. So you've got your mounted rangers versus your sort of knights, which I think works quite nicely. So even right down to their clothes, you can sort of differentiate them out quite easily and have quite different looking units. So I'm happy with that. They went together without any real complaints. Sort of similar problems I had with the bows, getting them all to line up. They've got a few little gaps. So I'm going to have to go around and green stuff some bits. This kit did have some annoying mould lines on some of the shoulders, but not the worst I've ever seen. But on the general point, the mould lines weren't too bad, and they were, in all the places you'd expect. There wasn't any running down the middle of faces or anything weird like that. The horses have gone together okay. I can't really make any complaints about them. They do feel a little bit low detail in some of the manes and stuff. We'll have to see how they paint up, but I think I'm fairly happy with the way that they work and they go together and they stick on the bases. I'll still do a little bit of filler on the bases just to hide those horse feet in. I said, to be honest, it's one of the first plastic cavalry kits I've ever put together in quite a few years of doing this. So it'd be interesting to paint these guys up. I think they might skip a few things in the queue actually. In fact, these rangers might feature in my 8-point saga list if they were an option allowed to me. So yeah, overall I'd say it's a pretty nice kit. I am overall pretty impressed with it. Definitely good value, 15 minis for I think it's £25 for the box. That definitely seems pretty good value for me for cavalry models compared to a lot of stuff out there. They fit really well in with sort of my other Oathmark stuff. They've definitely got the same sort of vibe, and obviously the scaling looks all perfectly fine, because I think in a lot of places they are more or less the same sculpts, just with cavalry legs. And I've built the 2 units that I want to, and I've still got a few horses and legs and stuff left over to do some conversions. So I think I might do a champion and a mage using the leftovers from this kit, which I'm pretty excited about doing as well, rather than using the metal ones that came out alongside these. So yeah, overall I'd give them an 8 out of 10, and I'm looking forward to getting some paint on them. And that's all for this video. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments, maybe subscribe for more, and as ever, thanks for watching, bye!